I'm Andy, president of the board of directors for CHAPS, full-time volunteer and a client. So as a little kid, I always wanted to be a cowboy. Grew up reading, cowboy and Indian novels and books. I wanted the ultimate freedom that cowboys have. They're not beholden to anybody but the horse and the cow, and that's really where the story begins. My first and only equine experience prior to coming to CHAPS was in Iraq. I got to ride a donkey in the middle of a combat zone. I paid a kid, a handful of Jolly Ranchers to ride it. Still have pictures of it. But upon moving to the community, became really good friends with the previous president and board member, Nicole Soto, and her husband, Austin. I heard about this wonderful program that I just had to know more about. Came to one of the board meetings, immediately signed up to be a volunteer, and I've been here ever since.
My name is Kristen Marcus, and I was hired in January of 2015. I have a lot of hats, and I've done marketing, I've done program development, I do all of the administrative work. I'm also an equine specialist in mental health and learning, and potentially soon to be a driving instructor. CHAPS has been here since 2004. They got their corporation together in 2003 and then got their 501c3 in June of 2004. Right now, 38 individuals riding with us per week. We also have 6 who are driving with us each week. And then within our groups, they vary between 2 to about 7 per group. We have had as many as 12 in one group. But right now, the average is probably about 6. So we have 3 groups that run. We are about 85% funded through grants and donations. And then we have a few people who do private pay. And then we also have a few stipends like through the county and the city through the 1 cent funding, but most of it is grants and donations.
We have 12 horses. This is one of our biggest horses. This is Tilly. He is a Percheron. He is the type of horse that knights used to ride into battle with full suits of armor. This is one of the horses that I've ridden here at CHAPS during my lessons, and he is just a big sweetheart.
One of our biggest struggles, and has been for years, is getting enough volunteers to be out here. For the lessons that we need, we have several riders who require 3 volunteers at a time, and that can be very difficult, especially where it's during the work week. Keeping the volunteers has also been a big challenge. We've tried really hard to break down all of the information into less overwhelming chunks, and we're finding that now volunteers don't want to move up into the next level. So our biggest struggle right now is volunteers. We have a lot of Tier 1 volunteers. We don't have a whole lot of Tier 2 volunteers, which are leaders and people that can tack the horse up. And Tier 1 are volunteers that can sidewalk, so they're back here with the client as they're riding and supporting. They're allowed to groom, but they're not allowed to catch and lead. And so where our clients are advancing and they don't need as much support now, we need those volunteers who can move up into Tier 2 and be able to come and get the horses and lead.
My name is Noah, and I've been with CHAPS for about 3 months. I work here as an intern, and that basically means I get to help out with everything. So I help out with writing programs with disabled clients. I help out with riding lessons with veterans, driving programs, and ground programs.
Hey, my name is Lars. I'm a volunteer here at CHAPS. I'm also a veteran. I've been volunteering for about 3 months, and a favorite part of the program is working with the veterans. I'm also a client.
Another big struggle is making sure that we have all of our events paid for. Most of our events are not fundraisers, and they're for the client's benefit, but getting those paid for has been a struggle the last few years. We, for instance, we have a spring horse show for our adult clients. We have a fall horse show for our youth clients, and then we do our own version of Special Olympics. I was pretty much raised on a horse. When I was 5, my grandfather had a stroke and he couldn't take care of the family ranch anymore. So we swapped places with my grandparents and we moved to the ranch, and my grandparents moved to our place in town. We had horses out there to move the cattle, and so I've loved horses ever since I can remember. I told my dad I really wanted to learn how to do it on my own, and he said, well, if you can catch your horse, I'll teach you how to do it. And one of my first memories I ever remember of being with the horse was trying to catch this mare that we had. Her name was May, and she was notoriously hard to catch. And so I grabbed a halter and a coffee can full of oats, and I went out to catch her. And she made me run across that 10-acre pasture for hours. I don't even know how long it was. I couldn't have been more than 6. I remember standing in the middle of that 10-acre pasture, and I stomped my foot and I was screaming at her, May, you get over here so I can ride you. So I must have thrown a temper tantrum and fallen asleep in the middle of the pasture with my halter and my oats. The next thing I remember is she was nosing her way into my oat can, and I got up, I wiped my face off, and I put the halter on her and said, Daddy, I caught my horse. And so I've been on the back of a horse pretty much ever since. I also went to school to be with horses. I always wanted to be a veterinarian, and that was going to be the plan. I was going to be a horse vet from the time I was 9 years old up until I wasn't. I went to school, I got my equine science degree at Riverton, and then I went to Oklahoma State University and got a bachelor's degree with an emphasis in equine management and nutrition. And I was applying to vet school when I found out I was pregnant with my daughter. And I had a friend who had just had a baby 9 months older than mine, and she was in vet school, and she only got to see her kid about 2 hours a day. Between studying and the clinics and whatnot, she never saw her kid, and I chose not to go that route. I chose to be a mom instead. So I went back to school and I got a master's degree in equine breeding, and then I couldn't get a job. So I went back to school and I got a degree in ag communications. So one of my favorite stories to tell is how we were working with a veteran group who was coming out here with the VA residential mental health programs. This particular veteran was from the Coast Guard, and he had a walker, and I could see he was struggling that day. The goal for the day was to do a join-up activity in which the horse would connect with the veteran in such a way that he would follow the veteran around with no halter or lead. We had a new horse we were trying this day. Her name was Rosie. She was a Mustang mare. And right away, she connected with this veteran, and she followed him around like 6 or 7 laps around the arena. It was pretty cool to see, and he had gotten winded, so he stopped, and he's like, you know, I think she's just infatuated with my walker. And I didn't think anything of it, but at the time I told him, I was like, well, you know, that may be true. She might not have seen a walker before, but if she didn't like your energy, she probably wouldn't have followed you anywhere. And so we continued with the activity, and then we went through a second activity, and honestly, I don't even remember what the second activity is now. But we're processing at the very end of the day, and our therapist always asks, what is your significant learning for the day? And I will never ever forget this veteran when he said, when you told me she was following me because she liked my energy, it is the first time in 20 years I have liked myself. CHAPS to me is connecting humans and horses so that humans can learn, grow, and heal. They have so much to offer, and I think that's pretty much the biggest or the easiest way to describe it. But it's a lot.
I give you two words: ultimate freedom. CHAPS has given me ultimate freedom from the traumas that I've incurred in the past. Gives me the opportunity to focus on today, and it doesn't make me worry too much about the future like it used to.